The courtyard behind the Naval Training Center was silent as the Admiral stepped forward, his shadow stretching across the gravel. He looked at the young woman standing at attention and questioned her excuse for missing part of the morning PT. His voice carried a cold challenge. She held her ground with steady eyes. No one expected the truth she was about to reveal or the scars that would change everything. What city are you watching from today? If this story resonated with you, hit subscribe for more real stories about extraordinary people. Her name was Lieutenant Mara Dawson, a quiet but fiercely disciplined operator recently assigned to the training oversight team. Most of the recruits had no idea she held one of the highest combat commendations in her unit. She preferred to keep her history buried, focusing instead on guiding younger sailors and rebuilding her own strength after a long recovery. The Admiral, however, was known for his strict expectations. He valued sharpness, speed, and absolute resilience. He believed every officer should prove themselves daily, regardless of rank or reputation. When he heard Mara request a modified PT schedule during recovery, he took it as a sign of weakness. That morning, surrounded by recruits and senior staff, he decided to test her resolve. The sun had barely risen, casting a cold glow across the field. Mara stood ready, though her body still carried reminders of a mission gone wrong. She hid those reminders carefully under her uniform. She never wanted sympathy. She only wanted to honor the people she served with. The Admiral paced before her with his hands behind his back. He challenged her reason for adjusting her PT intensity. He demanded full transparency in front of everyone. Some recruits shifted uncomfortably, sensing the tension. They had seen Mara demonstrate flawless leadership, patient guidance, and quiet encouragement. They did not understand why she was being singled out. Mara took a slow breath and explained that her doctor approved a gradual increase in load. Before she could finish, the Admiral cut her off and questioned her commitment. His words struck sharply. He claimed that excuses had no place in the armed forces and that strength came from consistency and grit. The crowd watched her carefully. Some felt stunned. Others felt defensive on her behalf. Mara remained composed. She thought back to the mission that had changed her life. A deployment overseas where an unexpected explosion tore through the convoy. She shielded 2 teammates and dragged another behind cover despite the burning shrapnel embedded in her side and back. She never spoke proudly of that moment. She only remembered the chaos, the prayers that her team would survive, and the cold determination that kept her moving until help arrived. The scars were deep, not only on her skin but in her memories. Every morning she woke with stiffness and pain. Yet she trained, mentored, and served with unwavering resolve. She did not owe anyone an explanation for the mark she carried. Still, she stood before the Admiral with respect. Even as his voice delivered another sharp reprimand, several recruits exchanged glances. They knew something was wrong. Mara never avoided hard work. She always encouraged them through their hardest drills. To hear the Admiral question her dedication felt unfair. Mara felt the weight of their eyes. The pressure built, but she stayed calm. The Admiral stepped closer and demanded she justify her request to scale back. His tone challenged her honor. He insisted that a real operator should not hide behind medical notes. That final comment hit harder than any physical blow. Mara realized this had gone beyond discipline. It was personal. He doubted her character, and she could not allow that to stand. Mara straightened her posture. She lifted her uniform top just enough to reveal the faint, jagged shrapnel scars that ran across her side and ribcage. The courtyard fell silent. Not a single recruit moved. Even the Admiral froze. Her voice carried calm strength as she explained that these scars belonged to a mission where she saved 3 lives. She had been given the highest distinction for valor in active combat. She returned to duty after months of rebuilding her body piece by piece. She told him she was not avoiding the pain. She lived with it every day. She requested a modified PT only to prevent tearing the healing tissue and returning to the medical ward. The Admiral stared at her in disbelief. He had never been briefed on her full record. Her file contained commendations that few in the entire training center could claim. He had judged her without understanding her truth. One of the senior chiefs stepped forward and confirmed her story. He spoke about her discipline, her loyalty, and her sacrifice. He stated firmly that she was one of the strongest operators he had ever served with. The recruits watched the Admiral lower his head slightly. For the first time in years, he seemed shaken. The truth hit him harder than her scars ever had. She had given everything for her team, and he had challenged her. Integrity without knowing the depth of her sacrifice. The Admiral stepped back and addressed the entire group. He acknowledged his misjudgment and corrected his earlier remarks. He stated that strength was not always loud. Sometimes it lived in the quiet resilience of those who carried hidden wounds and still chose to stand tall. Mara felt a mix of relief and humility. She never wanted recognition for what happened. She only wanted fairness, dignity, and the ability to serve at her best. After the confrontation, several recruits approached her privately. They thanked her for teaching them that real courage was not the absence of pain, but the determination to keep rising. Over the next weeks, the training center shifted its culture. Leaders spoke more openly about recovery, discipline, and the importance of respecting the unseen battles people carried. Mara became a silent symbol of that change. She never asked for the role, yet she filled it with quiet strength. Her scars remained, not as reminders of suffering, but as proof of her endurance and the lives she had protected. She continued her work with renewed purpose, guiding young sailors who would one day face their own trials. She hoped they would remember that compassion and strength could exist together. The Admiral, now far more thoughtful in his approach, often reflected on that morning. He learned that true leadership demanded understanding before judgment and humility before authority. What did this story make you feel? Where are you watching from? Subscribe to Soul Relief Stories for more real stories that heal the heart.